Have you ever had an adrenaline rush? You're a Marine. Imagine you have. Okay? I remember one of the most prominent adrenaline rushes in my life. We're outside of the city of Fallujah, first night of Operation Phantom Fury. My Humvee, the Cloverleaf, a couple other Humvees. Got our cruisers mounted, ready to go. There are several other instances that I can think of in my long 7-year career as a Marine that involve a crew serve weapon system, a combat, or a pretty awesome training situation. What I want you to do here, next slide, pay attention to the upper left-hand corner. Listen for the distinct sound of Mark 19 firing and the round's impact.
Let's go, Sarge.
And it's Sergeant. No, Sergeant.
He missed on that one. Hey, drop. I think it was an IED. That was definitely an IED. Fucking A right, it was. Nice fucking shooting, Togo.
All right. What you just witnessed here was Sergeant Toko using a Mark 19 to disarm an improvised explosive device. I'm sure that's something you guys have never even thought of. After this period of instruction, I'm confident that with a deeper understanding of some of just the basics, you'll have a foundation upon which to either go a little deeper and maybe develop the knowledge necessary to come up with some ingenious tactics like this. Next slide. During this period of instruction, we're going to be going over the capabilities of the Mark 19 and some of the employment considerations. First, we're going to go over the ranges of this crew serve weapon. Next slide. All right, the maximum range is, as you know it, if you don't have a pen and paper, now would be a good time. You want to write some of this stuff down. 2,212 meters. All right, that's going to be on an area target, i.e., say you've got the desert wide open in front of you, and there's a division of enemy personnel marching on you. That's an area target. You wait till they're about 2,100 meters out or something, maybe even a little closer, right? You just spread. You got it. Okay? Max effective range on a point target, okay? That's this right here, 1,500 meters. Say you're in a city, okay, and down you've got a long stretch of road, and in between two large buildings is a technical. It's a civilian truck that's been modified with a machine gun on the back, okay? You don't want to shoot anything beyond that because the weapons, you know, the ammunition's going to cause things to stray a little bit and cause collateral damage. You want to take that into consideration. Next slide. Next, you have the rates of fire. You have the cyclic, the rapid, and the sustained. I'm sure you're familiar with these. We have these for every single weapon system in the Marine Corps inventory. The cyclic rate of fire, 325 to 375 rounds per minute, in my opinion, is only achievable in video games like Metal Slug. You will not have that kind of ammunition in a combat situation. Okay? More than likely, you'll have maybe 200-300 rounds max if you got a Mark 19. That's a ton of ammo. Okay? More often than not, you'll have 300, 400, 500 rounds for a 240 Golf or a 50 cal. So realistically, you're going to want to use the sustained or the rapid rate of fire. The sustained rate of fire is 60 rounds per minute. That's about a round a second. And if you're ever familiar with if you've ever fired a Mark 19, it shoots that about a round a second. So you're not really pausing. Now the sustained rate of fire, as you were, what I just described as rapid rate of fire. The sustained rate of fire, you're gonna have those pauses. So maybe like a 4 to 5 round burst. You're gonna lay off a few seconds, do it again. Right? I like the sustained rate of fire if you're gonna be firing a high volume, because there are 40 rounds per can. So you'll be able to ascertain very quickly how many rounds you have on hand, and how many more minutes you can maintain that rate of fire. Okay? We've covered the ranges and the rates of fire. Next, we're going to go into the employment considerations. Next slide. Okay. You need to know your ammunition types and consequently your nomenclatures. They're two of the same. We have the M430 India, okay, and the M430 Alpha 1. Okay, they're both high explosive dual purpose munitions. Additionally, we have the M383 and the M384 high explosive munitions. These are the two that you're going to be using in a combat environment. Okay? The difference is that the dual purpose grenades are created in such a manner that they have an armor penetrating value of like 2 to 3 inches. Okay, now both of them have similar effects on personnel. Naturally, the dual purpose is going to be really effective against troops that have flak jackets and various armored implements or that are in a semi-fortified area. Whereas the HE is going to rock when you're encountering lightly, I want to say lightly armed personnel, insurgents, people who don't have flak jackets or ballistic plating in any capacity. All right. Next, you have basically your training rounds. Okay, you have the M385 India, the M918 practice round. Both of those, kind of the same deal that you have over here. They have different nomenclatures, but that's only because of slight variations within the round. Okay, it's essentially a flashbang so that you can spot where the round impacted. Lastly, we have the M922 and the M922 Alpha 1. These are dummy training rounds. Okay. They're hollowed out, they're drilled with holes so that you can see inside them so that you know that they're inert and they can't be fired. And they're used to practice ammunition drills, loading and unloading of the weapon. Next slide, please. Okay. We have 5 firing positions, essentially, okay? Legs extended under the tripod, legs crossed, legs braced, kneeling, and finally the standing. Next slide. In the legs extended under the tripod, this is really good for like a tall person, like say raper. Okay, you're gonna get behind it. You're gonna put your legs essentially behind or underneath the tripod, like so, and you'll have good sight position. However, it's hard for you to charge the weapon, and like I said, it's a good position for a tall person. But you're gonna have all of your shell casings kind of stacked up in between the legs of the person there. All right. Next slide. Okay, legs crossed. Just do one more. Yeah, legs crossed. It's a good position for you to get a good picture from that leaf sight, and it's still like the first position, hard to charge, but it's good for a short person. They cross their legs. Okay. Next slide. Legs braced. Of all the hasty positions, this is my favorite. It's easy to charge. You've still got that good sight position, and as you can see, the legs. He's got his feet on that T&E bar. So it's bracing the weapon in place so it's stable and easy for him to charge those handles back to the rear. Okay? And then, next slide. Okay, of all the hasty positions, this one is the quickest to assume. It's hard to sight, however. It's very unstable, and it's not really good for a tall person. Can you imagine Raper trying to, it's going to have a hard time putting the rounds where he wants to place it. Okay, not picking on you for any other reason except for the fact that you're tall. All right. Now, with all of these, you want to think that you're probably going to be assuming these positions when you're RSOPing. You're going from firing position to firing position to firing position. Now, if you're staying in an area for more than a few days, you're going to dig a fighting hole, and if you're in a convoy, you're going to be assuming this is the next position. Next slide, which is the standing. In both cases, that Mark 19 is going to be right here. Okay, I mean you'll be right about where you need to be to get a good sight picture on that leaf sight. And the only consideration you really need to have is that you want to stay low. The lower you are, the better. All right. Next slide. Okay, so far we've covered the capabilities and some of the employment considerations of the weapon. Okay. This is a brief overview. Like I said, we could go on the Mark 19 for a very long time. Okay, this is just a foundational class. But what I want you guys to do is to make this personal. All right? In your own time, grab those MCIs. Research this weapon system. When you're cleaning an armory, ask your corporals and your sergeants, all the questions that you can possibly think of. And, like Sergeant Toko, if you do that, when it comes time, you'll be able to perform and ultimately accomplish the mission, and that is to bring the Marine to the left and right of you home. Thank you. Is anybody timing that by any chance? What was the time
About
on
10
that?
minutes.
Are you serious?
9 minutes and 36 seconds.
All right, we're going to do it over again.
What were we shooting for, son?
I got to do it in 8 minutes.